6:36, if everybody could rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to do roll call. We'll start with Pam.
Pam McLeod.
Lila Atkins.
Karen Caritono.
Eunice Landry.
Bob Cullison.
Diane Byer.
Jay Fitzpatrick.
Jason Henry.
Everett Clark.
Okay. An open public input. Seeing none, we're going to close it. Agenda review.
Yes, I have one addition to item 9. I'd like to add H, a calendar revision for the 2018-19 calendar.
Anything else?
Yes, the policy committee has a couple of changes. And we are going to be handing out a packet of policies that you should look at, not the versions that are in your packet, because those weren't the ones that were revised. And the change would be that we're not going to discuss DIH. That's been tabled. And for number 5, we will be looking at ILD and ILDR.
Just because you take one away doesn't mean you can add one.
Do you have that, Lynette?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else? I'll take a motion on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Take a motion on the minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes from January 2nd, 2018.
Second.
I have some changes. I don't know if anybody has changes earlier on. I have some changes, item 9, action items on page 5. Under program of studies, I think it would be good to list what the changes were that were made. There was a half-credit computer change, and an honors diploma is listed under there. I'd also like it to be mentioned that I mentioned an RSA related to the computer credit change. And then down below under the technology survey, the last portion of that, there was a discussion about whether this would be beneficial at the elementary schools. That actually goes up under the program and studies discussion.
Okay, so we'll be able to put that further information in there? Yes. Okay.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board superintendent, principal, and I see we don't have a student rep tonight.
Okay, a couple of things. Former student of Prospect Mountain High School graduate Indiana Jones is doing an internship with the Olympics. She's likely to be viewed in a future Baysider edition, so keep your eye out. She's currently covering the Olympics in South Korea. The calendar, we have some calendar changes to the current year that aren't part of the later discussion. That's a revision to next year's calendar. Due to some of the school cancellations we've had for inclement weather, we've exceeded the days that we've built in for snow days because of the 2 days we had back in the fall with the wind and the roads being flooded and things like that. And now we've had 4 days that we've had to close because of snow or icy conditions. So we're going to be extending the last day for students currently from June 14th to June 21st, with June 22nd being a teacher workday. So basically, students' weeks will be extended by 5 days. Graduation is going to be shifted 1 week forward from June 8th to June 15th. And we've built, that was a contingency day that we built into the schedule anyway, so now that will be the official night for graduation. We still have some winter left. We have a 182-day school year The state requirement is only for 180 days, or actually fewer days if you go with hours. So I think if we have to have any emergency closings, and we try to be as frugal with those as we can possibly be, rather go with a late opening than a closed day. But if we have to have any more, I'll probably be coming back to the board and asking for waivers of some of those days. We start reaching a period of diminishing returns because the second floor of the building gets very hot in June, particularly towards the latter part of June. The last week is an exam week, so it's an early release day for the students, so it's not too bad if we can get them in the morning, get them tested. But if we wind up going that last week in June, I think it's going to be dreadful the next to the last week in June for the students to have to be here and for any actual learning to occur. Right now, I'd be asking for one waiver day. That would mean that we have 181 days for students instead of 182.
At what point can we go to the state and ask for a waiver?
Well, typically, we would go to the state and ask for a waiver if it's going to be fewer than the amount of hours. So we would have to, when you figure the hours, if you go by hours, it's what, 176 days roughly of students when we do an hour conversion. So if, let's say that we had done an hour conversion and we weren't going to be able to fit 176 days into the schedule, then we would go to the state and ask them for a
So we can't go
emergency
now?
waiver. No, there's no reason for us to go yet because we haven't gone fewer days than the state requires. It's only when you would go fewer days than the state requires that we would have to ask for a waiver.
Thank you.
It's going to be tough for all schools this year.
Yeah. The school folder fraud investigation that we had going on about the folders that were distributed to the students in the local schools. If you'll remember, it was a Florida company that was sending those out, collecting donations from businesses in the communities, and that money was supposed to be applied to the schools and was going to a private business down in Florida. Investigator Ducey from the Attorney General's office was looking into the National Campus Professionals folder. John Garrigan, the Assistant Attorney General, along with the Consumer Protection and Antitrust Bureau, was communicating with Victor Lewis, who was the owner of that folder company, and his attorney, which is located in Florida. And back in January, they were supposed to have a video conference with them at the time. At this time, it doesn't look like there will be any criminal charges, but it does appear there will be a civil case filed from the state of New Hampshire against Lewis and his business to keep him out of New Hampshire. So we shouldn't have any future issues with those folders in the state. We received a parent district response rate and survey results for parent involvement in special education in their schools. The percentage at Prospect Mountain High School, 71%, is an increase 28 percentage points from the previous 2014-15 survey. So basically, parents who have completed the survey feel comfortable that their students are getting information that they need and being included in the process of providing special education services. And then I just wanted to draw your attention, the Education Week does a national survey where they look for three things. They look for a chance for success, school finance support for schools, and K through 12 achievement. And they do a comparison across the country. And I'm happy to report that New Hampshire is fourth out of the 50 states in the District of Columbia. Very close race at the top: Massachusetts, New Jersey, Vermont, and New Hampshire are the top four contenders. So something is happening right in New Hampshire. Certainly we can see the fruit of that happening on a daily basis here at Prospect Mountain High School. Leads me into this next statement. I'm always happy to report 73 students have been accepted into post-secondary and military positions, have received early acceptances. This is an increase of 18 students over last month's report, so we're still on that upward climb. Hopefully we'll be able to have the majority of our students, as they have in the past, be receiving those acceptances to college and military or career training programs. We received a request from the Prospect Mountain Teachers Association asking if any board members would like to assist in developing a unified message with the Prospect Mountain Teachers Association they could send out to the press regarding their negotiated CBA, asking for support of the CBA. So I told Joe and Vicki that I would ask at the board meeting tonight if there was any interest in the board in getting together somebody to work with them and develop a press release that they could send out. They already have the press release about the contract with the support of their negotiated CBAs.
Does the negotiating team want to discuss it amongst themselves? Who's going to?
Sure.
Okay.
Leave it in your hands?
And let me see, is that all on my list? Yep, I think that'll do it.
David's.
All right, good evening. Tiffany is not here tonight. She's at a basketball game in Somersworth, and backup Abby has the flu. So I have Tiffany's report. I'll deliver it. It will not be delivered anywhere as cheerfully as when Tiffany does it. However, content-wise, it'll be similar. Special Education Department took place the Penguin Plunge on the 27th. They had raised over $1,400. We had five people jump in, 2 students, 3 adults, and it all went well. English department hosted Poetry Out Loud Coffee House back on the 1st. It was very well attended. Sophomore Erin Kelly won. She's the same individual who won last year and ended up competing at the state level as well, so that's exciting. The art department, we recently received our honorable mentions. It included 1 student winning a silver key and 2 gold keys, and another student would won an honorable mention as well. The gold key winner will move on to the national competition. Hopefully it results in a national gold key or a silver key or a national honorable mention, all of which are tremendous accomplishments. We also did receive recently some of the Scholastic Art or the Scholastic Writing Awards, and this is where kids contribute writing pieces and then they're judged, and we had, let me count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 students receive honorable mention in the writing category, and 1 student who received a silver key in the writing category as well. So I will post those shortly. I haven't yet. The World Cultures Club, recently Mr. Long took 5 students up to Quebec City. They spent this past weekend up there and did some sightseeing, and everything went well. Everybody returned home safely. Classes at this point are gearing up for Winter Carnival, which is next week. It's what we know as Spirit Week, concludes with a Friday before vacation of a day-long festivities of competition, school-wide and class competitions. It's a fun day. It's been a long-standing tradition, so kids get pretty hyped up about it. This year is a unique year where the trip to Disney also takes place. I think they leave Friday morning, Thursday morning. So they won't be here. There's a good portion of kids that will not be here for Winter Carnival, which has a negative impact to some degree, but those of us who are here still make the best of it. In the counseling office, we've been working, we issued report cards recently, and we started the course selection process. We've gone down and visited both 8th grade schools at this point, or 8th grade classes from both schools. Everybody is up and running. We've changed the process a little bit this year in how students are registering for courses. We are incorporating more of the use of Infinite Campus, where students can actually enter the data of the classes that they want to take on their own, and then we will fact check it against the sheets that they turn in. So it's our first time doing this. We wanted to see how it goes, and so I'll report that out probably back to you in March, at the March meeting. One of the things that I will be coming to you with as well regarding report cards, earlier in this year, we made the decision that we would give progress reports, we would only mail hard copies home to the parents who were not in the Infinite Campus portal. And what we'd like to do is also make that transition to report cards after first and third quarter. And we'd like to keep sending hard copies home to everybody at the end of second quarter and at the end of the year. And the reason being is that we have half-year courses, and so GPAs change as well as credit, cumulative credits change at those 2 points. So otherwise, we'd like to try to get as much done electronically as possible, but still feel at this point in time having final report cards mid-year and at the end of the year would be best. But that's a discussion for further down the road, but it is coming. FBLA is still working hard. They just concluded a business week. They had various activities for the days. Last Friday was probably their largest participation day, was Opioid Awareness Day. Several schools from across the country celebrated, or I shouldn't say celebrated, they wore purple to show support and to help raise awareness for opioid awareness. Many of the FBLA members are still, they are working in preparation for their state leadership conference, which is coming up shortly. I did mention in front of the staff or the school at our last assembly, we have every month at the end of the month, we have what's called the Good News Assembly. It's the last Friday of the month, and we just highlight some of the good things that are happening around the school with students and staff. And one of the things I mentioned this past time was that we have one student who has been working in the greenhouse all winter long, and he's a sophomore here, and he has, when he got here, we set him up with the garden as well as using the greenhouse upstairs, and he's been 100% into it. It's been pretty remarkable. So to date this year, he's grown over 6.5 pounds of lettuce, 2.5 pounds of crushed basil, 6 ounces of chives, 9 ounces of lemon balm, all of which he gives to the cafeteria that they actually use to make salads. And last Friday, they had a big water jug of lemon balm that they were giving out, small cups of it for free. But Kyle Alberton is his name. He's on, I highlighted it on social media as well. But it's pretty cool. It's something he's very proud of, so I felt like it's worth mentioning to you all. And if you're not doing this, I highly encourage you, if you're not following on Twitter, you can go to the school's website and see everything that I put on Twitter and social media. It goes onto Facebook, it goes onto Twitter, but it's also right on the webpage of our school, so you can see all of these accolades that happen along the way, and some of them are really, really great. A lot of the clubs are doing their normal things. Student Council is preparing for Winter Carnival. There's a dance coming up this Friday. Valentine's Day dance. Robotics. Week 0 is coming up, right? Do you want to mention what it is? Tim Geyer, everyone.
Hello, I've spoken before the board before. So I'm the captain of the robotics team. So we got our game in January. We've been building our robot all month. We're still building our robot this month. We actually have to stop building a week from today. And this Saturday we have a scrimmage event called Week 0 down in Nashua. And then 2 weeks from that we have our first event, which is actually up in Utica, New York. So it's been a busy January. It's been a busy February so far, but the rest of February and March are going to be even busier. But that's about it for us. We'll just be down in the shop working if anyone wants to come in and check out us.
I know that last year you were impacted by the snow days, and how are you handling it this year?
We kind of built it into our schedule. So last year we would meet 6 days a week and for shorter hours. This year we meet 5 days a week and for longer hours. And so when we miss a day, we put it into one of our empty slots.
Oh, good.
So we're on schedule. We're in much better shape than we were last year.
Good.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
mentioned earlier, the Disney trip is coming up February 22nd through the 26th. Everything seems in place, ready to go. The drama department is hosting, they were a little bit behind the eight ball this year of doing a large musical production, so they decided to do a dinner murder mystery, which will be happening in mid-March. So they're under the gun, no pun intended. Really, that was accidental. It was, it's serious. But there's a great cast. There's about 12 or 13 kids involved in it. Megan Schmierman, Brian Stewart directing and producing. Miss Fraser is involved as well, producing. So I encourage you, when the time comes, come check it out. It's the first time we've ever tried anything like this, but we have some talented kids, so it'll be neat to see. On the sports scene, a lot of our teams are concluding tonight for boys basketball. It was senior night. We had 2 seniors who are concluding their basketball career here at Prospect. Ski team finished up their races. Unified basketball has their senior night, I believe on the 19th, in the girls' senior night for basketball, as well as cheerleading spirit team senior night is this coming Thursday. We had one student who qualified to race at States up in Dartmouth. Thomas Howlett came in 9th up there. And we had 6 students, again, I posted it on social media, 6 students who competed down in Orlando, I think it was, for the 3 versus 3 World Championships in soccer. And they came in 3rd in their division, so that was awesome. And lastly, part of what we do at our Good News Assembly is that we have what's called Student of the Month. Any student can get nominated by a staff member for something that they've done in a particular month, and we then, as a staff, a few of us get together, we talk about the nominations, and then we put out a ballot to every staff member that works here, and a little synopsis of why a student was nominated, and the staff votes. We keep voting open for a few days, and student is selected, and then there are a couple of perks, like a parking spot and a pizza party, and a couple of other things that the students get. This month's winner was Tiffany, so yeah.
Good.
Which I doubt she would have said that about herself. And that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions?
I will just comment that my 8th grader failed to inform me about the online option for the course selection, so I
Well,
have skewed your data.
Maybe not 8th graders, I didn't know about it either.
In her defense, when we went to the school, we gave hard copies of the course selection as well as hard copies of the program of studies, and so our expectation was, we said, things are available online, but they should be doing everything on paper.
Okay, well, we did it on paper.
Perfect.
Me too. And I hate doing things on paper.
All right, thank you very much. So we're going to move on to committee reports. Building and Grounds will be meeting in March, I believe, correct? Right. Yes. This policy committee.
Okay, so unfortunately what was included in the board packet were not the corrected version. So if you look at the new packet that was handed out, so we're talking again about BEDG and BEDGR. And really the only differences you see compared to what was in the packet in the last meeting are correcting typos and correcting on BEDGR a piece of a sentence that was missing on page 53, according to the new packet here.
And I think we had noted all these at the
And
meeting
these were
last
talked
month.
about in the
when we-
meeting,
yeah, when we did
except
our
for
first
that
reading.
sentence that had been missing. That was corrected as a typo at the meeting, but then I went back and there was a piece missing.
I see one more. It looks like maybe a typo or a grammatical, where it says in the second paragraph, no later than 5 business days of the public meetings. It feels like it needs a following or within or 5 business days of, just doesn't quite.
Sharon just corrected that, so let's see. Open the public hearing no later than 5 business days.
Maybe it's just the way I'm reading it.
What was it? It originally said, it should have said within 5 business days of the public meetings. So it should say no later than 5 days.
So I think if we just change after
Prior.
from,
It should probably,
Right.
instead of should be after.
After.
Of the.
because I used to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to do a motion on this now or after? Just do it all at once.
Let's do BEDG and BEDGR together.
On the final reading. I make a motion that we accept BEDG and BDGR, which are about access, or about preparing school minutes and access to those minutes and public records for a final reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay, then moving on to policy EH. Last meeting, the policy committee had recommended that we eliminate this policy because the information is redundant to what is in BEDGR. And there were some questions, however, about the reference to EHB in the appendix EHBR. And going back, those were just notes from NHSBA sample policy. They weren't parts of the actual policy. So those should have been stricken in this original policy. So our recommendation is still that we eliminate policy EH. And that will not affect policies EHB or EHBR.
I make a motion that we eliminate policy EH, which has to do with school data management.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then policies ILD and ILDR had to do with non-educational surveys and when parents need to be notified and give permission. So we were already moving on to a second reading. And the only corrections are just a couple. I don't see them. Really, the only corrections on these was changing district to schools.
I move we-
Make a motion that we accept policy ILD and, hold on, ILDR for a second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And also, I know it hasn't passed yet, but part of the teacher's contract is that policies will be posted online, correct?
Yes.
But Sharon handle that? Okay.
And the policy committee today also discussed some upcoming changes to legislation that will have to do with funding for dual STEM enrollment and also vocational enrollment. So there will be funds available to students who have taken college courses at the same time as high school courses to be basically reimbursed for those courses. So we're just awaiting more information about the process before we look at developing a policy. And on my list is the new non-public meeting worksheet, which I didn't see till the packet, so I'll turn that over to Diane.
I saw it in the packet. Did you want to talk about this, Paul?
Eunice called to Sharon's attention that there were some concerns about the non-public worksheet that we've been using in the past, that there were certain things that we really don't need to go into non-public for. For example, items related to negotiation or discussions around negotiation. We would just call a recess and we can discuss those things during the recess. It's not necessary to go into non-public. And the other is when we have an attorney present and we're getting advice from our attorney, we can take a recess. We don't have to go into non-public to get advice from the attorney. We just take a short recess and then reconvene the meeting after we've met with the attorney.
The only suggestion I'd make for this is to accommodate 10 members. This is only accommodating 5.
Okay? Why don't we just draw a line or break those lines?
Excellent. I don't think we need a motion to go ahead and use these, we'll just,
This is the form that was supplied by New Hampshire School Boards Association.
excellent. All right, Finance Committee.
So, Pam McLeod is going, since Peter's not here, who's also on the Finance Committee, Pam McLeod is going to help me out with the Alton deliberative session because I was not able to attend.
Alton's deliberative session was the shortest ever in our history of SB2, I'm pretty sure. It's like 56 minutes, start to finish. It was absolutely amazing. Everything passed as presented. There was a little bit of discussion about the teacher's contract, Prospect Mountain teacher's contract. But other than that, I can't recall much discussion about Prospect warrant articles. So very, very smooth. Only 32 people were in attendance, so very, very sparse. But it was, maybe the best ever, other than the attendance.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Any questions about the, okay, perfect.
And
You want
Bob
me to
is
talk
going
about
to
this?
speak about the equalization funds.
The state offered an opportunity for us to get some funds called equalization funds out of, used to be building funds, and there were three basic priorities that they were looking at. Items that could be used within your building for school safety projects. If you had structural damages to your building that were a concern, that would be, you
mean
could
like
ask
the
for money
roof?
for that. Yeah, but there was a catch, there was a big catch. And the other was that you could use it for upgrading and the web connection, if you didn't have a web connection. A lot of the northern tier districts were looking at that. So we applied for two, and I'm going to pass these out. That dealt with building safety. They've been on the radar of the Building and Grounds Committee for a few years. The first one that we applied for was the safety glass enclosure to the main entrance, because the main entrance, once you get into the vestibule, is regular glass. It's tempered glass, but it's regular glass. And if somebody was insistent upon getting into that area, they could. So there was a cost developed for that. And then there was also a cost for putting ground floor security film on all of the windows on the ground floor so that people couldn't intrude into the building by breaking the glass on the first floor. The ground floor security film had a cost to the district of $2,400, and then the award would be $9,600. The cost to enhance the safety glass enclosure in the main entrance had a cost to the district of $285 and a cost to the state of $1,140 that they would match. So we sent in the application, and we have been approved for both of these. Now, there are some caveats. It has to be claimed by April 1st. We have to pay our share up front. There's money existent in the maintenance budget to do so, but what we'd like to do is have the board accept the monies that we would be receiving from this infrastructure fund.
Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we accept both grants awarded from the Public School Infrastructure Fund.
Second.
Any discussion?
What is the film, and what is it?
It's 3M makes a type of film that when you put it on the glass, it becomes bulletproof, it becomes shatterproof, so that if somebody were trying to get in through one of these ground floor windows into the building, they could not. It buys time, basically.
But what does it look like?
It's clear, it's just a film that goes on over top of the glass.
What if the windows are open? I mean,
Well, that's a problem. If the windows are open, there's nothing they can put over
It's
the,
bypass.
and they bypassed it.
Actually, when you leave when you're walking down the hallway, the door frames, the windows above have that on it. You can't tell by looking at it.
okay. How does this conflict with one of the, I don't know if it's the House or Senate, but there was a bill to make it a penalty if you prohibit somebody from entering a school with a gun?
That has been moved to committee, I believe. That was, which means it'll probably be tied up in there, hey, just go away.
Well, that would make sense.
Yeah, I heard from, I sent a message to Barbara, I don't know how it's come, Barbara last name, and she indicated that all the existing laws that are in effect of schools being gun-free district take precedence. That's built into this plan. So basically it is stating that if the school is a gun-free zone, then a person, the school district wouldn't get penalized a $5,000 fine if a person had a gun. That's what she indicated in the letter that she replied to.
We're kind of off from the protecting
Right.
us from guns, but don't we fall under the Federal Safety Act?
I believe so. And I think what she's stating is if there's existing laws already at the schools as far as being gun-free zones, probably they're immune from the penalty of the $5,000 or whatever the penalty is. Because she's stating that existing laws that pertain to schools take precedence over the state law.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's what she was indicating to me. I don't know enough about it, but I said, what is this about? So.
And some of this money certainly was earmarked through Homeland Security, and one of the things that we do is when we develop a school safety plan, we work closely with Homeland Security. They come out, they do a review with the safety committee. They walk around and they talk about where are your areas of compromise, what could be areas that you want to consider, beefing up. And these were two of the areas that they made recommendations about. I think when schools were being built, there were some attempts made, but there wasn't a lot of attempt made to put bulletproof glass in entryways and things like that because of the cost involved.
I think also the schools that had the Homeland Security audits had a better chance at getting these
Exactly.
grants. I wrote one of these grants also. But that's my understanding is,
Yeah.
so
We had to
that
provide
proactivity pays off.
documentation, yes,
Yeah.
in order to be eligible to receive any of this money.
That's
great.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We're on to action items. The audit for school 2017.
You want me to do that one too, Karen?
Sure.
Okay, if you'll turn to page 18 in your packet. Heidi unfortunately can't be with us tonight. She may have the flu. We're finding out she was on her way to medical treatment. She called me this afternoon and said she wasn't
You're
going
not
to be
gonna
at
get it
me.
because you're next to me.
No, I think I'm immune. Knock on wood. Anyhow, page 18, 19, 20, 21 are the audit reports. And basically, they completed our audit, Plodzik and Sanderson, and they presented their findings in the letter that's dated January 5th. There was only one minor issue found. There was a deposit noted that was made to the bank that wasn't within a timely manner. This was due to a vacation, so it was deposited the following week. This had to do with money in a student account, student building account. But what we're asking for is the board to accept the audit findings, and that we also, on page 18, you'll see the fund balance to be returned to the towns is $586,341, $322,663.45 to Alton, $263,677.55 to Barnstead, and then Fund 5. We're only allowed to keep so much of Fund 5. That's the money that we generate by renting the building from our lessees. So after we get to a certain amount, we have to return that accumulated fund balance to the towns. We use that to pay overtime custodial fees and things like that. So there'll be $11,965. There was an overage in what we can keep in that account, so that Alton will be receiving $6,584.34. Barnstead, $5,380.66. So Heidi recommends that the board accepts the FY17 audit as stated.
I move we accept the FY17 audit with a fund balance to be returned to the towns of $586,341, with Alton share at 55.03% and Barnstead share at 44.97%, and that we return Fund 5 accumulated fund balance to the towns in a total of $11,965 with the same percentage distribution.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, could we get, just in case we need it, a summary of the items that produce that amount of a fund balance?
The fund
I'll ask
balance.
Heidi to put that together.
I'm wondering if we're returning a fund balance for building use funds, if we shouldn't in the future, just a future note, look at maybe lowering the cost of building use.
Well, I think what had happened in the past, and there were many years that we were accumulating the fund. We didn't realize that there was a cap that we could accumulate.
Okay.
And it came up in the audit that there was a maximum amount that could be accumulated. So that's why there's been money returned. I think it's been the last 2 years that money's been returned.
But I think also there was a time when we weren't using it
Right.
the way we should.
Right.
so.
Because we typically use it to pay overtime for the custodial staff and things like that, since they're here during the time that the building's being rented. So we hadn't been doing that, so that money was just accumulating in a pool, because I don't think the folks at the time who were running that account knew what that money was exactly.
Okay. I would hate for us to bring in more than we actually need
Right.
when it's a community building. The other question I had was about the student activity fund note. It says it's a repeat comment from the prior year. Is that something that's been addressed for next year as far as the vacation week deposit?
Well, I think she's asking what action did we take last year when this happened?
I think it was a slightly different circumstance. Things have been tightened up. I think that the fact that there was only one of these, I think there were a couple of those that had happened last time. Heidi looks into these things when she gets these reports back, and, the finding that they did find was a very
It's small.
minor one.
Yes, yeah. I
It
agree.
wasn't a
It is
major
very
issue.
minor.
And I think because you've got less control over funds that are student account generated funds than you would have through budget generated funds, I think that's where some of this falls into place. There are different people who have their hands in the pot. So Heidi tries to make sure that they understand what the processes are, and, that deposits are made on a timely fashion.
So those are probably staff that literally are not here during vacation week.
We have one person, my administrative assistant in the main office, controls the activities account. So I'll give you an example. This year, we were raising funds for one of our faculty members who was out on medical leave, and we had a fundraiser, and it was I think it was the day before Thanksgiving break. And so no one's here Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and my administrative assistant was off the Monday we came back, and so by the time they get back, it's 5 days already,
And that's the case, I think, they're talking about.
Okay,
so.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So then take a vote on this? I did. Lost track.
No.
No, you haven't
All those
taken-
in favor?
So I'll also make a motion that we accept the donated hats to the music department from George Keane of East Rochester in the
Second.
amount of $628.
Second.
Any discussion? What type of hats?
I think they're band hats, aren't they?
Yes.
Oh, nice. And we're going to be sending a letter thanking?
We always do, yeah, so he can declare it on his taxes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, foreign exchange students.
In your packet is a request from Lena Reichmann, a German student who would like to attend Prospect Mountain High School next year as an exchange student. She'll be 17 years old when she comes here next year.
And this has been vetted, this cultural homestay, have we dealt with them before?
Honestly, I don't recall if we have. They're on the list of approved places. The PACs which we've traditionally used, we've been using for the past decade, they're not coming to us with anything.
Well, I think we reviewed one last year. I remember the letterhead of this.
There
one that we reviewed.
was a drop-off last year in the number of students that we've accepted because PACs had kind of dropped out of the process.
If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that the girl that we have this year is from the same place, or using the same organization. This girl's going to be staying with the same family.
Do we have a motion?
I move we accept the application from, I'm not going to be able to say her name, German foreign exchange student, Lena Reichmann.
Second.
Hanover, Germany.
Right,
Second.
So where does this put us to next year?
Why?
This, just
This
the
is
one?
the first one. This is the first for next year.
What is our cutoff? date?
Yeah,
I think it is.
It is May, the cutoff?
It's before the end of the school season, but I don't know if it's May.
It's,
It very well could be.
I think it is May. I think we've had to make a decision later whether we would accept a late student. And I think we did because we had room. But I think it's mid-May.
Is she staying with a family that has horses?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
I think that was a requirement. So
I believe the
so
same
what is
family
our-
who has an exchange student this year. Yeah.
So how many exchange students are we prepared to house on any given year?
Isn't it
We have gone
five?
up to 5.
Up to 5, okay. And so we're just kind of, we wait for them to come to us, we're
Yeah.
not searching them out?
Yeah, it's typically first come, first
Yeah.
served, because we watch as they come in.
Because it seems
And
like in the past, we've gotten, a
They've come
bundle
in
of-
batches.
Yeah.
We've gotten 2 or 3 at a time. And when PAX was working here, they got all 5 slots.
Right.
Because they would walk in with 5 applicants.
Right.
Yeah, it really, it's the assertiveness of the coordinator, the local coordinator.
Yeah.
Back when Chris Hales, who was the PAC, I mean, she was coming in, she'd
She
come
was
to
on
the
top of
board,
it.
she'd
Right.
tell you all about it.
Yeah.
But she'd come to us with this, we have a selection to say, that one, that one. So, but
Chris
for
is no
whatever
longer
reason,
with that organization,
Right.
correct?
And I think Alton had, one of the community organizations in Alton had exchange students every day.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Maureen Fitzpatrick, School Board Scholarship.
It's page 41 and 42. Are the letters that you receive annually about this time. Please return the form by March 16th, 2018. We have 135 seniors this year. They've worked hard. And Linda's trying to work on getting the Maureen Fitzpatrick Scholarship together. It's a $500 scholarship, and typically board members have each contributed $50 towards that scholarship.
I'd like to see if we could increase it, because I'd still like to contribute to it.
You sure can. It's a minimum of $500.
Okay, can we check, because that's very near and dear to me, as you just know very well about that. So I'd like to still continue to contribute to that.
So did you want to double it, Diane?
Yeah, right.
I'm sure they'd be happy to accept more.
Okay, so do we need a motion on this, or no? Informational?
Well, I guess the only motion would be whether you're going to continue to support the scholarship.
So I'll make a motion, we continue the scholarship.
Second.
Fitzpatrick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Your check's coming.
Alrighty. FBLA State Leadership Conference field trip.
So this is an overnight stay on the 29th. This is that state leadership conference I mentioned earlier. If they do well and place here, this will qualify them for that.
They did fundraisers last year, are they doing any this year?
For this, they don't do specific fundraisers.
But if-
I mean, they're
if they go
always
to the
doing stuff, but
nationals?
They make the nationals, yeah.
Okay.
They go full-on campaign to make some money.
Okay.
So we have a motion.
I move we accept the FBLA field trip to the State Leadership Conference, March 29th through 30th.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, New Hampshire High School equestrian team sponsorship, right?
There's nothing in there. This is Jay's show.
I'll be upfront with you, I'm scared of horses. So,
Guys are usually afraid of snakes.
no, they're too big.
Well, get a pony.
No, it's the same thing. Just the smaller version.
Little mini horse.
Same thing, a little scary. A girl approached me, a student approached me about whether or not we would allow her to play on another school's equestrian team. So this stands for the New Hampshire High School Equestrian Teams. And I had no knowledge of this whatsoever, and I went to the athletic director and I said, is there an equestrian team through NHIAA? And he said, nope, there's not. And we both went back and double-checked it, and NHIAA doesn't do anything with this. However, there's an organization where schools get together and they have competitions, showing type of competitions, whatever it might be. They completed district meets, walk trots, team classes, in-hand classes, whatever it all is. And so I said to her, well, I'm happy to go to the board and have this conversation with them. In the meantime, why don't you get me the names of people who might be interested in this? And she came back, there were 6 or 7 kids who were interested in doing this. And so in reading about it a little bit more, and really what it boils down to is they're looking to wear the Prospect Mountain name when they go to these shows and competitions. As far as your support, it's not an NHIAA sport, so you're not funding anything. What we would be doing is ultimately approving that as a club, and it would be a co-curricular club that the kids did on their time. They're not doing anything here. All of these riders have to have their own insurance in order to go to whatever competition they're going to. They all have their own equipment, in this case being the horse, and whatever you put on the horse to do whatever you do with the horse.
You were doing well with walk, trot, and in-hand. Those were right on target.
I read it. I read it. And so they're looking to ultimately have the sponsorship of Prospect by basically us allowing them to represent the school's name when they go to these competitions. There are 5 districts, and within each district, actually there are 4 districts, and within each district there are about 4 or 5, as many as 7 high schools within that district. So.
Who, is there a leader, or,
So
do most clubs have somebody who receives a stipend or something, or a
that I don't
faculty
know.
leader?
Clubs for here or the equestrian?
Clubs for here, so
Clubs for
other
here,
clubs,
yes.
would they, yeah.
If they're a school-sponsored club here, all of our clubs are overseen by a staff member, faculty or staff member. And so there's a stipend that is associated with almost all of them. There are a couple that, because they're not consistently running, sometimes they just do it. This here, I certainly did not budget for this. I wouldn't know where to begin, because I don't know if there's one coach that does everybody. I don't know if they all train at the same stable. See?
Stable.
I can tell you that Concord High School has one. I don't know if she gets a stipend, but there is a faculty coach who's an employee, and they do all train together. But I don't know if there's funds
But
involved.
is that what was requested?
No, what was requested is simply, can they enter and wear Prospect Mountain colors and a shirt or a sticker on the horse that says Prospect Mountain. Sticker on the horse.
A blanket.
Sure, I don't know. But I'm sorry.
Oh, Pam, this is killing you, isn't it?
I would like to see a sticker on
Embroidery around the horse, too? What?
I approve that.
That just seems cool.
But I believe we have a policy
Unfortunately, they
that
used to have
defines
an
clearly what it takes to become a club where the stipends are paid, but I think it's a 3-year process, if I remember correctly, looking from a long time ago, like lacrosse, because lacrosse never officially became,
Right. Sport.
right.
I don't think their intention in the least is to have someone here that oversees anything. I don't think they're looking for a stipend. I think what they're legit looking for is to go be part of one of these districts as Prospect Mountain High School, and when they go to these competitions, that they all are wearing the same thing and all competing on behalf of
Similar to the
Prospect.
gymnast when she was doing gymnastics.
And so we have gymnasts, we have
Do we have a
swimmers.
precedent for this without like adults?
We do. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have 2 swimmers. In fact, one who swam at states this past week, and I should have mentioned Trevor Smith, freshman. So
Wrestling.
we have done wrestling in the past. We haven't had wrestling in quite some time, but we do have sports, swimming and gymnastics, where they're individual sports. We've had 1 or 2 people, and our agreement with those students is that because we don't have those resources here, we don't have a pool, we don't have any space for them to do gymnastics, they will continue to do what they're going to do. We've contributed in the sense of allowing them to wear a logo, and we've paid entry fees, the $100 entry fee into their competitions.
I make a motion that we authorize students participating in the New Hampshire High School equestrian team to identify themselves and/or their horse as part of Prospect Mountain High School.
They can actually shave PMHS in the side of the,
Oh, no.
depending on the time of year. They can.
Or the brand.
Fun fact.
It's like getting a branding.
Yes, second.
Any further discussion?
Yes. Jay, wasn't there also a concern that if they weren't associated with a high school, they couldn't participate?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you had to be part of it's a high school organization.
So they had to have the support of the high school, or else they couldn't participate.
And does it become the same type of privilege as any sports team, like if they have a competition where they need to leave school early or miss time, that is?
So typically what we do with those club type of things is that we try to limit that as best we can so it doesn't get out of hand. So if it means that there's one competition that requires them to leave early, we'll get their schedule at the beginning of the season, and we're able to say, all right, we can allow you to do this and this, but it wouldn't be you get to leave every day at 2:30 to go to practice, or you can't leave every Friday it's kind of, we work with them to pick and choose when to work.
And one of your staff members might be interested in helping them anyways, once you put it out.
Yeah,
There's quite a few people into that.
Prospect from?
I think it's great.
That ice rink is down.
Wait, wasn't that in the parking lot last week?
Why don't we just keep the fund balanced,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Personnel report. You have this one?
Yes, we just have one. Lauren Dennis is paraprofessional replacing Peter Brophy. As you can see, the budget impact would be $4.02 an hour less because Peter was one of our higher paid paraprofessionals.
Do we have a motion?
I move we accept Lauren Dennis for the paraprofessional position.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just trying to understand from the report if she has any experience.
Based on the job experience that has been listed, there is none, but I did not see none on the interview, so I don't know if there's something that was there that was not listed.
So she has experience, but I'm not sure where the experience is.
It's also my understanding that there have been very few applicants to our listings.
And she has some education in secondary education, but
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Calendar revision.
While at the legislative workshop a little over a week ago, I was talking to Cuddy Egbert, who is the superintendent from the Kingswood district, to see if there had been, I'd heard rumor that there was a change to their calendar after, she had given us information about what the dates were. And she confirmed that she had gotten a request from another school district that they moved that week for spring break back, and she had gotten it approved through her board and had forgotten to notify the rest of us. So I talked to the other two superintendents, Brian and Pam, and made them aware that I was going to be bringing this change forward and asking for this change at the board meeting so they could do likewise with the calendars that they were going to be bringing to the elementary schools. But basically, our original spring break was April 29th through May 3rd. And what we're asking for in this calendar is to move it back to the week prior to that, so that our kids won't be impacted by missing a week from the Korean Tech Center.
So does that week now not coordinate with ACS and Barnstead vacation weeks?
ACS and Barnstead are coordinating with the week that I have on this calendar.
So they should be bringing it to.
They'll be bringing those to your next meetings. Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the amended revised calendar for 2018, 2019.
Second.
has this been reviewed for the staff here?
I talked to the association about this change, and they were fine with that.
Okay.
I talked to Vicki.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll open up second public input.
I got input.
You can talk.
Yeah.
Let's go stand there.
Nope.
Face the camera.
Hi, camera. Last Friday, up here, the Barnstead Elementary, I should say this, the Revs basketball teams that took over for the Parks and Rec were all invited up here to come watch a game last Friday night. There were quite a few different team members that showed up, but mainly the 3-4 girls, my team and Crystal Foster's team, and then Shelley Vidaro and Larry Dean's team camp here. And we got to watch the Prospect Mountain versus White Mountain Regional High School. Shelley Vidaro's team made up posters for all the high school kids here. I reached out to White Mountain Regional because that's where I graduated from. They came down and brought the kids stickers, a poster, and got team pictures with them on last Friday night. And then afterwards, we set up and had a scrimmage against the both teams, which is the first time the girls got a chance to play on the high school court, which was something different for them, and it was very exciting for them. So it was quick. I think it will grow better next year. I have some ideas and talk with administration here, but for the first time going over and sprung at the last second, it went pretty well.
Good. Great.
Excellent. Sounds like they had a blast.
It does. Yeah, they had a good time. So got a lot of pictures, and it was really good. White Mountain Regional, it was fun. The two coaches, I actually taught one back in high school when I was teaching, and the other one was a year behind me in high school, and I'm like, I didn't recognize them because they maybe gained some weight and lost some hair. I'm like, oh. So.
Excellent.
I feel old now.
Listen, I'm older than you are, so it's not even going. All right. We're going to be going into non-public. So I'm going to make a motion that we go into non-public under RSA 91A, :3, Roman numeral 2E, which is consideration or negotiation of pending claims or litigation which has been threatened in writing or filed by or against this board or any subdivision thereof, or buyer against any member thereof because of his or her membership therein until the claim or litigation has been fully adjudicated or otherwise settled.
Second.
Rick?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we are in non-public.